Hello and good morning, good afternoon and good evening to you. Welcome to the tube. Hope you're today, hope you're feeling grand and all's well in your world. Welcome to another Q&A Wednesday, everybody. Let's get straight to it, shall we? Not that way, Dave. You can't read upside down. Okay, so question 1 today, everybody. Or should we start with question 7, since we're upside down? Anyway, moving along. Question 1 today, everybody. Could you please explain John Frusciante's amp setup and how he ran his Marshalls? Was it both on or one clean and one cranked? And was the CE1 chorus pedal what he used to make his amps run in stereo? Okie dokie. I spoke about this a lot before, especially in the John Frusciante series and other John videos I've done, but I will explain again. There seems to be a bit of like mass confusion with the way John ran his amps and kind of like, you know, what was what? Was one for distortion, one for clean, whatever. You know, what was what. So basically what John did, he ran both amps together. The Silver Jubilee and the Major were on together all the time. That is John's sound, which is the reason why it's so hard to replicate with one amp. You can't really do it. And even then, if you had two... Even if you had John Frusciante's setup, you still won't sound exactly like John Frusciante. It's just, that's just the law, sadly, of tone. We all sound slightly different. We can approximate, but we can never get 100%. We could probably get about 80% if we're lucky, but we can't get any higher than that. But it's fun trying. Okay, so John ran both amps on at the same time, all the time. It was always a stereo sound that John had. However, although John had 2 double stacks, 4 speakers in each cab, he only ever ran 1 Marshall cab. He never ran 4 Marshall cabs. He only ever ran 2. And it was either the A cab or the B cab, depending. You can see in the live footage where the mic is on which cab, and you can tell that's the cab he's using per head. They used to mic up the Major with 2 microphones and the Silver Jubilee with 1 microphone. And again, that gives you a certain distinctive kind of John tone. So technically you're getting 3 different sounds blended together to make one sound, which is John's sound. Again, makes it really hard to replicate because of that reason, you know. And yeah, it's just not possible to get 100% to John's tone. You can only ever approximate and get as close as you can, really. So both John's amps were run at the same time in stereo, yes, through the CE1 chorus pedal. The CE1 chorus pedal was what John used not only for his chorus effect, but to split his signal. So basically the Major would go into one input, the Jubilee would go into the other input, and then it would come out into his pedals in mono. So basically his whole pedal board was in mono. There was no effects loops used whatsoever. The whole pedal board was mono. It all ran in a chain. And then from the CE1, it split out to stereo to both his amps. So both amps would get a share of all the effects. So the DS2 would go through the Silver Jubilee and the Major. The WH10 would go through the Major and the Jubilee, yeah, and so on and so forth. They would all go through the same amp, through both amplifiers, through one 4x12 cab each per head, if that makes any sense. If you check out JF Effects online website, it shows you all the signal chain and all that lot. So yeah, so that's how it was set up. How he ran his Marshalls is up for debate, but the sound he's got, if you anybody who's played for like a vintage Marshall, like his not the Silver Jubilee, sorry, the Major, they have to be wound up to sound good. And being that amp was a 200-watt beast, that was loud. He would have run that Major loud. And if those pictures by Dave Rat, the Chili Peppers sound guy at the time, are anything to go by, John had the volumes like that. So, excuse me. So the high treble volume, input 1, if you will, the volume was about 10, 11 o'clock-ish, and then the normal channel, which is a lot bassier, a lot fatter sounding, was ran about 2, 3 o'clock. So about, you know, 6, 7. If you will. That's shockingly loud for one of those things. I mean, 100-watt, well, even a 50-watt plexi at those volumes is hard to stand near. So, and I remember Dave Lee saying, John's guitar tech actually saying at one point that John's setup is so loud But because he wears in-ear monitors, he doesn't realise how loud his setup actually is. And I say, when I saw him sound checking at Hyde Park, I could hear the on-stage sound. There's a difference between it coming through the PA and the on-stage sound, because there was music being piped through the PA at the time. And there was no real kind of way you'd hear the guitar amps on stage, but you could hear his rig being sound checked by Dave Lee. It was just absolutely like scary volume. But he had to run it that loud to get the compression to make the DS2 and the Ibanez WH and all these other pedals behave levelly. You know, if he ran the Major really, really clean and he ran the Silver Jubilee really, really clean, and I'll get to the Silver Jubilee in a minute, the DS2 would spike volume-wise. The Ibanez WH wouldn't work. It would spike as well, and some of all these pedals would be just sapping the sound. But because these amps would run so loud and so much power from them, it really kind of helped retain John's tone. So like I say, if you want to use the DS2 and an Ibanez WH without volume jumping, you have to have that compression either from your amp or from a pedal. And I think John got his from mainly his amps with a little bit of help from his CE1 chorus pedal. Because there are certain jams where John uses the DS2 and the Ibanez WH and he doesn't have the CE1 and he still sounds like John. So, you know what I mean? It's like, I don't think the CE1 is... there's a lot of emphasis put on the CE1 saying, oh, it's this, that, and it's the most important pedal. It's not. What's important about John's tone is how you run your setup, how you run your amps, and how you get that compression. And that compression has to come from distortion, natural or kind of like pedal distortion, an overdrive. It has to come from that. It can't come from a compression pedal or anything else. You know, you have to use a dirty channel or an overdrive pedal to kind of simulate that. There's no way you can do it any other way. It just doesn't work. Compression pedals don't really quite give you the right amount of squish to make the DS2 behave like that, and make the Ibanez WH behave like that. Compression pedals don't really do that. They're not really giving you the right kind of squish. I've just dropped my plectrum. So yeah. Oh yeah. And let's go back to the Silver Jubilee. Silver Jubilee was run flat out. The Silver Jubilee, I think, would have to be run flat out every gig to keep up with the Major. Marshall Majors are, I think they're one of, if not the loudest amplifier in the world. I mean, they're 200 watts. I mean, they're shocking. Unfortunately, I've never had the opportunity to play through one. When I worked in Old Hat, one came in about a year before I started working there, and it went out again really, really quick because they're quite sought after. So I never got to play through a Major, but I did get to play through a lot of 100-watt super leads. And when you get them wound up, it's the volume level. It can't be described. When they're at their sweet spot, which is anywhere kind of above 5, really. Plexis don't really behave very well below 5. They have to be really wound up to behave. And once they get above 5, they sound amazing. But good gravy is the volume shocking. It really is like, whoa, that's mind-altering loudness. Definitely shakes your teeth and rattles your bones. So yeah, I reckon. Well, and again, if we're going by Dave Lee's pictures of John's settings, the Silver Jubilee definitely was ran flat out. And as a result, that amp would be breaking up. And have you ever noticed when John wants feedback, he goes and stands in front of his Silver Jubilee? He doesn't stand in front of the Plexi. He stands in front of the Jubilee because the Jubilee is more distorted. It's more overdriven because it's wound up all the way. And the nature of it being a valve amplifier means it will have to break up. It's just the law of a Marshall valve amplifier is the louder they go, the more natural kind of overdrive and breakup you get from the valves. So that's why I say John's tone is never clean. It would never be clean. And anybody who says, oh, it's crystal clean, it's not true. It can't be true. Just for the laws of a Marshall Silver Jubilee being cranked up and the laws of a Marshall Major being cranked up the way they were. There's no way they'd be clean. And I think that's what Josh's tone is lacking, but that's another video altogether. But, you know, you have to... there's no good having this kind of... That kind of clean, you need it. You know, it needs to be quite distorted, but not too much. But that's the kind of like that's the kind of sound you want to be kind of going for. Anyway, that's turned into a different thing. Right, any more questions? But yeah, that's how John ran his amps. Both are on all the same time. They both ran for a single 412-inch, 4x12 speaker cab. He never used both. There was either the A cab or the B cab. It was never both. It was mic'd with 3 microphones. The CE one was used to split his amps in stereo, yes. But they were both ran cleanish. They weren't both run clean. They both weren't run distorted, the amplifiers. They were both run in that kind of mid-section, the sweet spot, if you will, of a Marshall, where it kind of gives you that kind of edge of breakup, compression clean, which just sounds gorgeous. And it sounds clean, but it's not very clean. It's a weird thing to experience. It's an eye-opener when you realise that... I've got hair in my face, but I can't see it. It's a weird thing to experience that kind of breakup, because it's so clean, yet so distorted. It's so easy to play, but it's so clean sounding, if that makes sense. That doesn't make any sense. I don't think I'm making any sense. But, anyway, I hope that answers your question. I could talk about that for hours, so I'm going to stop myself there. And hope that's answered your question. I'm going to move on to question 2 now. Okay, so, question 2, I need to move the camera. Yeah, actually, no, I won't move the camera. I'll leave the camera where it is. I'll just take the pedal off in a sec. Question 2 is this. How do you fix the WH10's on-off switch so it's easier to turn on? Okay, I will show you this in a bit. Let me talk about it a bit first. I've spoke about this before, but the way to do that, when you get the WH10 V2, it's got these kind of rubber strips, if you will, under the foot pedal, and there's I think there's 2 of them. I think there's 2. I think there was 2 on mine. Anyway, what you've got to do is remove 1. Get rid of 1. You only need 1. There's 2 on there for some reason. Well, it's Ibanez. It's like... I reckon it was a bit of a cock-up in the Ibanez department making it, and they had to correct the mistake really quick, so they just put another black rubber strip on, but it doesn't actually work, and I think it was a kind of like a, oh, that'll do kind of thing. I don't think it's good enough, but there is ways around it, which is cool. Okay, so... if there's 2 black strips, get rid of 1. Just get rid of it. You don't need it. Bin it. Literally bin it. It's pointless. It's worthless. It's useless. Okay, so then what you need to do, and again I'll show you in a minute. I'll take mine off and I'll show you the camera. Show you with the camera. I can't talk today. What you then need to do is underneath the pedal are these little kind of triangular rubber feet. Okay, so what you need to do is take one of them off. And they should still have quite a bit of stick on them. Just like gradually peel it off. It should come off quite easy. They're kind of rubber. They're not kind of felty. They're kind of rubber. So they don't really rip or bend or anything like that. And they should have quite a bit of stick to them. If not, you can always glue them down. And then what you need to do is you need to put that basically where the first rubber strip is. You need to put that directly beneath it. Okay? So the triangular rubber kind of like foot is there, and the rubber strip that's on the foot pedal that goes up and down is there, and you need to put them so they come into contact with each other when the pedal's kind of like just resting. So when the foot pedal is resting down on the bass, it needs to be resting on this little rubber triangular bit. That way, when you go to turn it on, you can't do it unless you really, well, not really, but it's quite easy to turn off and on. You can probably hear. But you can't just kind of like, it's not a struggle, and you can't just kind of like kick it. I'm just stamping it on. You can't just turn it on. You have to put a little bit of force into it, but not too much, which is good because that switch doesn't take much force to break. So let me turn the camera off quickly, and I'll show you what I mean. Hopefully, if that makes any sense. Is this the most terrifying thing you've ever seen? I think it is. Okay, so Ibanez WH10. Hi there. So, yeah, here's mine. This is what I do. So, hopefully you can see. Like I say, this switch is absolutely ridiculous. There's like... You could breathe on that and turn it on. It's not the best. Okay, so, as you can see here, there's the rubber foot that I took off the bottom. I don't know if you'll be able to see it. Let me see if I can see it on the screen. you might be able to see it, but if you look, there's a different kind of colour. If you kind of like see where my thumbnail's running, there's like a darker line. So there's this kind of like top side. If I kind of like, I don't know, it's a bit dusty, but you can kind of see. Hopefully you can kind of see there's like a line. I don't know if it can pick it up. I don't know. You might be able to see it. I might not be able to see it on the little LCD screen. But anyway, so that's what I mean when I put the little triangular foot down. It's kind of flush with the front of the pedal, like you can kind of see where it is. So I put this. It was the foot off the bottom, which I don't need. And if you're going to mount it to a pedal board, you don't want them on there anyway. You want Velcro. So get rid of those rubber feet and stick one there. And then this rubber bar, which if I get it into the right light, there was another one of them that I said just get rid of. You don't need that one. You only need one of these rubber strips on the bottom of the pedal. So basically, when they come into contact with each other, which again I don't think you can see very well, but hopefully you can. Yeah, that's just resting on the switch. You know what I mean? It's just above it. It kind of literally is touching the top of the little the switch here. I don't think you'll be able to see. It's not quite on it. It's literally kind of like that. If that's the top of the switch, the actual foot pedal is now resting about that far. And because of this rubber foot underneath, it's just preventing the pedal from going down all the way. So now, if I put a little bit of pressure on, you might be able to hear it click. Okay, so lift it up again. And so hopefully you'll be able to hear that. So that's the fix. That's what you want to be doing, everybody. If you're having trouble with it not turning on or turning on far too easy, get one of the rubber feet off the bottom, stick it down there, so that rubber strip comes in contact. Oh yeah, get rid of the other rubber strip as well, so there's only one rubber strip on the actual foot pedal, and stick that below, and that'll solve the issue, I promise. It's worked for this one for absolutely years, so yeah, that's what I do, everybody. So hopefully that's answered your question. I'm going to move on to next question now, question 3. Okay, so, yeah, hope that's answered your question. Question 3 now, everybody, is... and it's a bit weird, that. I don't really know. Like I say, just some of the things that Ibanez seem to do with the V2 is a bit silly, really. Anyway, move on to question 3 now. And I discontinued it, which is very annoying. Question 3 is, I'm after a John Frusciante sound, but can't find an MG here where I live. What would you recommend for bedroom playing? Okay. There's a couple. The Boss Katana 50, I would highly recommend for anything. It's just amazing. It's just like one of these things, one of those things, or just like, you know, anything in general. It's just like one of those little Swiss Army knife amps. So the Boss Katana, if you can get hold of the Boss Katana 50, I would recommend that highly. I've got a video out to get John Frusciante's tone out of that amp as well. If you, it's a couple of weeks ago now, so if you look back, you'll be able to see it. The orange CR35 RT, the 30, is it 30? Yeah, 35. It's awesome, awesome little amp. It doesn't quite have as much fatness as its bigger brother, but for bedroom playing, you know, you'll be fine with it. So the orange 35 Crush is amazing. Trying to think of anything else. PV Bandits are a little bit big, but they would still work for bedroom level. So you can find like a PV Bandit of any incantation. Incantation? Why not? Yeah, any kind of PV Bandit would work a treat because they're amazing. They're a bit big, but you can get them to run really quietly, which is really, really cool. Other amplifiers that are really good for John's tone. Yeah, the Boss Katana, the orange CR35. Say a PV Bandit would be great if you can find one. They're normally really cheap as well, which is really, really good. I'm just trying to think, going through. Mine's gone blank of amplifiers. They're the only thing I can think of at this point in time. People of a tube, help me! What amp would you recommend for bedroom playing to get a John Frusciante-esque kind of tone? In all fairness, as long as it's a good amplifier with a kind of a fairly nice, cleanish, well, with a very clean kind of sound, you could always get like a pedal, like a jackhammer. I think you said that in your email. You were thinking of getting a jackhammer as well. If you can kind of get any amp with a kind of a nice, kind of cleanish kind of sound, and then if you stick the jackhammer over top, it should take you that next bit to sort of marshalize whatever you've got to kind of give you that John kind of tone. So so yeah, I mean that's another option if you like. You know, if there is something else that you know that's very readily available, but you don't think, well, it's not a Marshall. It doesn't have to be, really, if you can get hold of like something like a Marshall Jackhammer pedal, because that will give you that that will give you the John sound. The amp will just be used for its kind of like its power, so to say. I mean that's how I get my kind of like approximation of John's tone is I use a pedal. So this is how the CR120 is set. So it's really, really clean, but add in the Tone City Golden Plexi. You know, you're kind of using that pedal really to drive it, and it also boosts the mids as well if you listen. You know, there's a lot more mids with the pedal engaged. So anything that's readily available, really. But I would say Boss Katana 50 definitely, the Orange CR35 definitely, or a PV Bandit or anything like that, really, that's going to give you a nice kind of like platform. And then maybe kind of get a pedal to kind of take you the rest of the way if you can, really. Yeah, I can't think of anything else. Don't get a new Marshall MG. I was saying that the Gold Series I haven't tried, but one of those things, no. Yeah, that's all I can think of. People of the Tube, any other amplifier you can recommend, please leave it in the comment section below and let's help this fellow out. Okay, so, good gravy, what was that? 1 second. That's a helicopter. That's a very big helicopter flying extremely low. I'm sure there's laws against flying the helicopter that low in a residential neighbourhood. It's ridiculous. It's like, it was almost rooftop high. I don't know if you heard it on the camera. That was silly. Anyway. You fool! You're trying to kill us! I turned into Ren from Ren and Stimpy then. Stimpy, you idiot! Anyway, that was more Arnold Schwarzenegger. Who knows? Anyway, yeah, so yeah, I hope that's answered your question. So there'd be my 3 amps I'd recommend. Boss Katana, Orange CR35, or like a PV Bandit or something like that, really. And I say, people with a tube, help us out in the comment section below. Okay, so question 4. Question 4 is, have you ever used paint stripper on a guitar to get rid of a finish or a heat gun? I have tried paint stripper on a guitar, but if it's polyurethane, it doesn't really work. You need a heat gun. A heat gun is the best way to strip a guitar with polyurethane finish, because it just basically breaks off in chunks. You just keep the heat gun about such a distance, maybe about 1.5 foot away from the finish. You don't want to get it too close because you'll burn the wood underneath, and then it's a lot of sanding and it's not fun. Trust me, been there, made that mistake. Anyway. But yeah, if you've got a guitar with polyurethane finish, you want to use a heat gun because it'll just peel up the plastic basically, and you just go along with a really sharp kind of trowel, like a scraper or a trowel or something like that, and just basically get underneath it and just basically break it off, and it just comes off really neatly and easily. There will be some little burn marks, but again, it shouldn't be anything too much. You can just sand the body down afterwards, and it should go away, unless you left the heat gun on too long. Set fire to a body, which is never good, which I nearly did, everybody, because I was a bit stupid and didn't realise. Talking away with a heat gun. Yeah. Oh, the guitar's a bit on fire. Okay. So, that was fun, trying to sand that out. Anyway, moving along. Yeah, paint stripper will work on nitrocellulose. It will, like this guitar, if I wanted kind of like a different finish on this guitar, which would be crazy. But say for instance, I went a bit crazy and lost my mind one day. I'm gonna paint all my guitars fluorescent yellow, because that's obviously what you do when you're crazy. Even though this guitar is yellow, Dave. I don't know what I'm on about. So let's moving along. yes, paint stripper will work on a nitrocellulose body, so it would get rid of this paint because it's nitrocellulose. But it won't really do much to polyurethane. It'll bubble it up, but it'll just make a mess. You want a heat gun for that, really. It's the best way to get rid of polyurethane. So nitrocellulose, use paint stripper. If it's polyurethane, use a heat gun. Heat guns are just like the best thing in the world for stripping guitars off with polyurethane. They just get rid of it like that. It's extremely, extremely satisfying having a heat gun and just scraping and just seeing this finish just disappear, and it just breaks off in chunks, and it's like, yes, get off my guitar, let it breathe, man. So yes. I remember I had a yellow Stratocaster, which I ended up getting my friend James to scallop, which I don't have anymore. On its original paint, it was yellow, and I wanted to get the original paint off and refinish it, and I tried paint stripper on that, but because the polyurethane lacquer was about this thick, do you see how I went up in size there? It was this big. Anyway, it just kind of did this weird bubbly thing. I remember I left it on for like an hour, and I came back and I scraped, and it basically took like 0.5 millimeter off the like 2 millimeters of finish that there was. It did nothing. And then as soon as I got a hold of a heat gun, I tried a heat gun on it, and it just peeled off. Just broke off in chunks. And I was like, where have you been all my life? So I'd recommend heat gun if you've got polyurethane, paint stripper if it's nitrocellulose. So yes, hope that's a question. Also, thank you for all the tips you gave me as well in the email about kind of like, you know, relicking things and doing certain things. Thank you very much. I appreciate it very much indeed. Thank you. So I'm going to move on to question 5 now, everybody. Question 5. On the CR120, how do you stop the Ibanez WH10 from sucking all the tone on the dirty channel? Okay, so I've done quite a few videos on this thing as well. It's basically overdrive it. Alright, okay. Bypass everything. So this is just CR120, Ibanez WH, the volume will jump. So, that's not good enough. So what I do is, we'll get rid of the treble for a start, is boost up the gain. So I think the gain needs to be about 4 or 5. Let's turn it down. So there we go, it's not jumping anymore. So basically all I've done is I've put the gain up to, let's put it to a neat place. This is 4.5, so this is gain at 4.5. And nothing will jump. I don't think even the DS2 will jump. No, not even the DS2 jumps of that thing. But, like I say, if I lower the gain back down to where it was originally, which is 2.5, I'll get volume jumps again. You know, it's pretty substantial, and the same with the wah. You know, all of a sudden you can hear the guitar. But, like I say, if I put the gain up to 4.5, which seems fairly distorted, but it's not. You know, all of a sudden I don't get volume jumps. Anyway, getting carried away. But yeah, that's what I do. And it also gets rid of the tone suck as well, because down here... Well, actually, I'll tell you what, let me go to the clean channel. Okay, so, this is clean channel. It sounds just dull. Because the Ibanez, if I went straight in, which I can't do right now. Can I? Yeah. Okay, so. Oh, give us a sec, everybody. Okay, so CR120 straight in. And putting the Ibanez back into chain. It's just dull and lifeless. So if it's too clean, the Ibanez will rebel and go, no, I'm just going to do this. Come here, tone. Quish. So like I say, what you need to do is you need to have your gain set up higher than you think. And because your gain's higher, the amp's compressing more, which means you get less of a volume jump. There's literally no jump there. They're just like this. I mean, the only jump you get is the frequency jump on the wah-wah, because it's higher pitched, it seems louder. But it's not really. It's a bit shriller, but that's about it. So, that's what you need to do. Well, that's how I kind of get around it. And that's what you kind of need to do. The DS2 and the Ibanez WH do not like clean signals. They like it distorted because otherwise it just sounds gnarly. Otherwise. So you just need to basically crank your gain up to about, yeah, I mean anywhere between 4 and 5 on my CR120 is where it is. It will be different on your amp. I will say that now. It will be different on your amplifier. You'll have to kind of like just keep experimenting. But because I've spent so much time with this one, I know exactly where it kind of needs to sit to get that kind of... You know, so you're just gonna have to sit down with your amplifier, your CR120, and just kind of experiment with the gain dial. I will say though, keep the volume dial on the channel, keep the volume channel all the way up. Don't ever turn that down. Keep that cranked at all times. The amp will respond and behave better. Never ever take the master volume, not the master volume, sorry, the channel volume off 10. If you know, it will make the amp and the channel respond better. So yeah, that's what I do to get around that, and that's kind of what you need to do to get the Ibanez under DS2 to kind of like behave. Is they don't want to see a clean signal. They want to see that slightly distorted signal that might appear too distorted to you when you first dial it in, because that's the way it was for me. When I first dialed in that kind of sound where the DS2 and the Ibanez WH behaved, I was like, that seems way too distorted. But if you ever record yourself, which you should do, it's really, I highly recommend recording yourself, because it gives you a better idea of what you sound like. When you record it, all of a sudden it sounds a lot cleaner. So what seems really distorted isn't actually that distorted, and that comes back to, you know, the first question with John Frusciante's setup. Like, you know, it always seems really clean, but it's not actually clean. It's a weird thing. So yeah, so that's what you kind of need to do to get rid of the tone suck of the Ibanez WH. Give it what it wants. Give it like some gain and some grit and some dirt. Not too much, because it'll get too distorted. But you kind of want to be somewhere between 4 and 5 on the gain structure on the CR120. Well, on mine it's between 4 and 5, but it could vary on yours, and it probably most likely will, depending on whatever, on certain factors. Electronics, not consistent in that way, sadly. But yeah, crank up the gain, but not too far. If it starts to sound really kind of like AC/DC-esque, then you've got it's gone a bit too far, kind of thing. So you also asked. Do you think John Frusciante might release some of his other music or just his electronic music? I don't know. I think John's one of those people that just does what he wants because he can. So will he release any of his other music? Probably at some point, yeah. I do believe that at some point he will release something guitar related again, and you said you've met him. Jealousy is just welling through me right now that you met John Frusciante. I want to meet the man. I'm scared of meeting him. It's terrifying, but I would love to meet John Frusciante. It's like my number one. It's like one of my number one goals in life is to meet John Frusciante. I'd love to meet John Frusciante and get him to sign my white Strat, and I just love to talk to him. I just love to talk to him, but you know, we can all dream and hope, but you know, it doesn't mean it's going to happen, sadly. But you know, we can dream. We can dream. So yeah. Will he release some of his other music? Yes, I think he will, but I think he's got to go through his electro phase first and see where we go. But, you know, I reckon he will at some point. And so yeah. Okay, so in your last part of the question 5 was, will you listen to the new Red Hot Chili Peppers album? I will, yeah. I will give it a chance. But if I don't like it, I'm not gonna beat around the bush and say if I don't like it, I'm gonna say I don't like it. Like, I'm with you. I didn't like that album at all. And the last one, I forget the name of it. I forget the name of the last one now. Are we use that one? I'm totally confused now. I haven't really been keeping up with them really because I don't like the music, which is heartbreaking for a Chili Peppers fan to say that. But yeah, the last 2 albums I haven't liked at all. I've tried. I have listened to the albums fully, all the way through, multiple times, and there is nothing I can find. Dark Necessities and We Turn Red had little bits and pieces, but other than that, I couldn't hack it. It just didn't do anything for me. And if music doesn't do anything for me, I do not want to invest myself listening to it. Because, if like I've said this before a million times, but if it doesn't go inside me and make me feel something, then it's not music I want to hear. I like music that really affects me. You know, I can really feel, and when I can't feel it, I ain't got anything emotionally invested in it. There's no point. It's just, you know, it's like eating food not to taste it. You know what I mean? You cook yourself an amazing meal and you're determined not to taste it. Why? It's totally pointless. So but yeah, the new album, when it comes out, I will definitely give it a go. I will definitely listen to it. But if it's not if I don't like it, then I'm gonna say I don't like it. You know what I mean? I'm not gonna lie. You know, I'm not gonna lie about what I think of Josh Klinghoffer's guitar playing. You know what I mean? I don't like it. I don't like his guitar playing at all. I think he's the wrong guitarist for the Chili Peppers. I think there's a million different guitar players out there who'd be better suited to stepping into John Frusciante's shoes than Josh. I think he was just a convenient choice at the time. And I think it was a bit of a quick, not very thought-out decision. I don't really think Josh is the right guitarist. But again, you know, it's just my opinion. It doesn't mean anything. It only means something to me. It doesn't mean anything to anybody else or the scheme of the world. So, but yeah, I will give the new album a go. But I can't guarantee I'll like it. If I do, I do. If I don't, I don't, kind of thing. It's just like that. I'll judge it when I hear it, so to say. So, yeah, hope that's the question. That's question 5. Let's move on to question 6. Is the Jackhammer good for the drive sound of John Mayer? Now I've got to try and remember some John Mayer. Put that all back. Turn that clean channel off. Okay, actually, if I'm being perfectly honest, I think you'd be better going for a Governor than a Jackhammer. The Jackhammer is really nice at clean. I don't actually have a Jackhammer set up at this point in time. But the Jackhammer is really nice for cleans. But John's lead tone is fairly dark, so... Yeah, I would say the Governor, the Marshall Governor 2 Plus, the silver pedal with the gold dials and the gold logo, that would be probably a better bet than the Jackhammer for John's kind of lead tone. I don't think I can remember anything. I'm trying to remember anything that John plays with overdrive, apart from... You know, in Belief. But yeah, it's kind of got that kind of John Mayer. Kind of got that John Mayer-y kind of dark kind of blues breaker or tube screamy kind of thing. Yeah, I would recommend something like the Marshall Governor over the Jackhammer myself if you're going for that kind of John Mayer kind of lead kind of tone. Excuse me. Yeah. That's what I'd recommend over the Jackhammer myself. It just goes a little bit darker, and you've also got a little bit more options on the on certain kind of like, you know, the tone of the Governor is a bit different to the Jackhammer, so I would say the Governor is the best way to go there. So yes, I hope that's your question. But the Jackhammer would be good as well. I just don't think it would go as dark. The Jackhammer's quite a bright kind of pedal, whereas the Governor's got. You can go really dark, especially with the deep dial turned all the way up and everything kind of like down really low. It kind of gives you that kind of John Mayer-esque kind of rhythm break-up kind of sound. So, yeah, I would say, personally, I'd go for something like the Governor over the Jackhammer. I think, you know, you'll get more of a darker John tone, because his lead tone's fairly darkish. Okay, so yeah, hope that's the question. Moving on to the final question today, already, question 7. And I'm getting a really dry throat again. Okay, so question 7. Question 7 is, were you invited to GuitarCon? And if so, why did you not go? No, I wasn't invited to GuitarCon. So, yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, it would have been cool and I'd love to have gone. And if I got invited, I would have gone, definitely. But, as it is, I didn't. You know, it's just one of those things. I don't think I'm pretty sure I'm not a big enough fish in the YouTube world to be noticed for that kind of thing. And you know, and I think the way you, I don't know. I don't want to say anything really. I mean, I was going to go into a bit of a rant then, but maybe I don't. Maybe I won't or shouldn't. I don't know. But yeah, I wasn't invited to it. It's really, really cool, and I love the footage. Like, I remember I watched Pete Thorne's videos all the time. I love Pete, and I watched all those videos, and I'd love to have met him, and it was really cool. But I would have liked, yeah, I would have liked, if I was invited, I would have gone, and I would have loved it. It'd been really, really cool to go and do some videos there. It'd be really, really cool. But yeah, I didn't get invited. But that's okay. That's okay. Yeah, it's not the end of the world because I didn't get invited to GuitarCon or anything like this. So, but I will be letting. I am going to be going to some guitar shows next year. Green Carrot Pedals have asked me to come to a couple of guitar shows this year, but unfortunately, with one thing or another, I haven't been able to make it. But hopefully next year I'll be going to some guitar shows in the UK. Either just to look around, because I used to go to guitar shows a bit, and I really miss kind of going to them. They're really, really good fun. Or going there to help demo somebody's stuff, like Green Carrot Pedals, for instance. They said, "Would you like to come along to this show and show some of the pedals?" And I'd love to have done, but unfortunately I was busy and I couldn't make it, which is really annoying. But yes, hopefully next year I'll be going to some guitar shows and whatnot. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to that, and hopefully see some of you there and meet you in person, which would be awesome. Which would be really, really cool. I would love that. So but yeah, I didn't get invited to GuitarCon. If I had, I would have gone. But you know, it is what it is. At the end of the day, it's not the end of the world. So I'm not gonna lose sleep over that kind of thing. It's not, you know, you can't be annoyed at losing something you never had. If that makes any sense. I don't know. Does that make sense? I don't know. But like, you know, I never got invited, so I can't really be upset about not being able to go. If that makes any sense. Because I wasn't invited. Yeah, I think that makes sense. I don't know! James Bond chord, everybody. Gratuitous James Bond chord. Ah, Mrs. Moneypenny. Boo! Did it. I've gone mad. Anyway, moving along. But yes, so but yeah, I don't think I'm a very big. I'm not very big fish in the YouTube world at this point in time to be kind of like noticed by that. You know, so again, you know, like I say, that's fair enough. At the end of the day, it is what it is. Like I say, you can't. You know, there's no point getting upset about stuff like that. I'm like, you know, well, I wanted to go. Why didn't I get invited? There's none of that. It's silly to be that way because it's just you're getting yourself down over something you've got no control over. And if you've got no control over it, then just let it be what it'll be. It's the kind of I'm gonna do another video on this at some point soon. But it's the same as kind of like living with anxiety and stuff like that, which you know I've done for X amount of years. You know, it's just. You've just got to learn to accept what it is. You know what I mean? Accept where you are with what it is, if that makes any sense. So, but yeah. So, but that's another video altogether, which I'll be doing at some point soon. But anyway, so yeah. I hope I answered all your questions okay today, everybody. Usual fear, as you probably know, I'm terrified of totally ruining this Q&A and it's totally nonsense and it's full of absolutely nothing worthwhile. Cheers, brain. Thanks for these feelings. But yeah, so I hope I answered your questions okay, everybody. I hope, you know, there's something you can kind of take away from this. And yeah, and I will see you again on Friday for another video. It's going to be a teaching video on somebody, but I'm not going to tell you what it is at this point in time. But yes, a teaching video. I finally got enough time to actually get around to do one. Yeah! Which I've been wanting to do this one for a long time, and quite a few people have requested it, so I'm gonna do it on Friday. Okay, so yeah, have a great morning, afternoon, good evening, everybody. Again, hope answer questions okay. If not, the foam mallets are on standby, and I will yeah, and I'll see you again on Friday for a teaching video, everybody. So yeah, have a great morning, afternoon, and good evening. Goodbye now. Big note. That was a pretty big note.